Hey guys, come follow me. This is insight number 1. We're in Joseph Smith history, verses 1 through 26. There is only one chapter of this. The verses, of course, this is written like an account, and it was broken up into verses for the purpose of being able to study. So, like, we could say this paragraph or this paragraph. But please read it like as a story or as an account, because that's what he's giving. I don't feel that you have to pause after every verse and analyse it. Like, just keep going. And it's such a good read. It really is. We're doing 1 through 26. And I love how they've split it so that we can really study it. And it breaks down to 1 through 26 is the first vision. And then there's a little, in italics, about when Moroni appears to Joseph Smith. And that goes, I think, with Doctrine and Covenants 2 for the following week. Which won't be when we study in class, sadly, but we do get this one, so yay. Now, first off, so this is the account that's written and included with the Doctrine and Covenants, but Joseph wrote of his experience several times, and each containing a couple of different parts of the experience of the first vision. So some of them are like he might express it a little differently, or when it was being copied, because that's how they shared it back then. When it was written, a word got dropped here or there or put in. So some people will say, oh, there's discrepancies in the story. And it's like, well, actually it's been proven now time and time again that we will remember more and more and differently each time we write it or account someone. If it's perfect every time, then it's a lie, it's manufactured. So the fact that it's not exactly the same every time, that he remembers different things and puts different parts in, includes different people and what they said as to, why he would be writing that particular experience down for that person. So that's why. Anyway, I'll read you some more on that in a minute. But Joseph Smith history, this particular one, Joseph Smith history, in verse 1, it is intended to put in us the possession of the facts. So he says there at the end of verse 1, I have been induced to write this history to disabuse the public mind, but put all inquirers after truth in possession of the facts, as they have transpired in relation both to myself and the church, so far as I have such facts in my possession. So as far as I know it to be true, this is the truth. But this is one of the books I have on the first vision. This one's an older one that was reprinted 4 years ago when we studied it. But he says here, just to let you know, Joseph Smith's first vision may be the best documented theophany in history. In the 1830s and 40s, Joseph wrote or caused scribes to write 5 known accounts declaring that the Lord opened the heavens upon him. 4 of these 5 documents were later copied at least once, sometimes more, resulting in revisions each time. So that's why there seems to be differences. Not necessarily. 5 other known writers documented the event during Joseph's lifetime. Scholars would be thrilled to have that much primary and secondary documentation of Moses' encounter of the burning bush, because we have a few verses. Can you imagine if that had been written several times over and different experiences, and if Moses wrote it one time he was feeling particularly wordy, he might have given a whole lot more information, right? What about Isaiah's vision of the heavenly temple, or Paul's experience on the road to Damascus? We have one account of each of those things. So the fact that we have so much information about this is actually really wonderful. So you can find all of these in the Joseph Smith papers. They're part of that. I think some of them are in the Gospel Topics essays on the first vision. I think there's links to them. But basically, 1832 was an autobiography written on the first pages of a book used by Joseph Smith to record letters he sent and received. And I think there's a picture in here. There you go. There's the picture of the book. It's pretty cool, eh? Old-timey. 1835, November 9, entry in Joseph Smith's journal by his scribe, recording Joseph's account of the vision to a visitor. So someone who visited him to talk about it, and someone scribed it for him. November 14th, 1835, entry in Joseph Smith's journal by his scribe, according Joseph's account of the vision to Erastus Holmes. And that's reproduced in 1834 to 36 history. So these are in the actual history of the Joseph Smith papers. 1838 account described by George Robinson and copied into Joseph Smith History by James Mulholland, later revised, presumably by Joseph and copied again by Howard Corey about 1841, published in the Times and Seasons newspaper. Remember, that was like what we originally had is what is now online church news. And that was in March 15, 1842. It was redacted by Willard Richards later that year, later excerpted into the Pearl of Great Price, which is where we have it now. So the one that was published in the Times and Seasons was redacted from being owned by the newspaper and put into the Pearl of Great Price. 1842, Joseph Smith letter to John Wentworth, published, when he went along, and also included the Articles of Faith. It also included... It was published in the Times and Seasons newspaper March 1st, 1842. Reproduced in 1843 by Israel Daniel Rupp's Original History and the Religious Denomination of Present Existing in the United States. There's a whole bunch in there. But there's differences in each account, as I said, but they're not... there's a whole lot more of them. There's timelines of publications when they were put out. So if you're interested in this one, this you can probably find on Amazon. There's plenty of copies out there. If not, I think Deseret Book still might have some. This one, just one of the many ones you could use. I picked this one because it's not overly textbooky, but it's very factual rather than opinion. When I wanted facts about it rather than opinion. That's why I picked that one. But anyway, there's several out there to look at, and there's a lot of stuff on the internet. Again, be very careful what you're reading from, because a lot of it is fabricated. Church website's the best one. All right, so as you read this week, what strengths of Joseph do you see about his testimony and divine calling? So I pulled up a few here. So he talks about his family first. Now he talks about how awesome his family is, and that the religious Reformation at the time that's going on. He says in the middle to end of verse 6, it was seen that the seemingly good feelings of both the priests and the converts were more pretended than real. So he was observant. And remember, he's 14 years old. He's incredibly observant of this going on and thinking, hang on a minute, this doesn't work. You shouldn't be arguing about which Jesus is right. It's just not a thing. And during 8, it was this time of great excitement. He was called up for serious reflection and great uneasiness. His thoughts were deep and poignant, and he kept feeling aloof. He kept aloof from all these parties. Like, I don't want to get him overly involved with any single one, but I still want to know what they've got to say. So he would have gone to a lot of public speakings, maybe different church meetings, but still maintained a not for me yet, kind of thing. In process of time, my mind became somewhat partial to the Methodist sect. And I've been to Methodist churches and talked with a little of Methodist people, and I think probably along with the Presbyterians, a lot of what is correct gospel, and not all, and far from perfect, just like we are, but as people, but very close. But there's still things missing, and the main thing missing, as we know, is the priesthood, and which was restored, so it was good. But he was sort of he was starting to say, this one's actually pretty good. These people are generally pretty decent. And 10, he's in the midst of this war of tumult of opinions, because he often said it was more their opinion than anything else. It was not scripture that they were talking about, it was their opinion. How shall it be known? So he was labouring under these extreme difficulties, and he read the Epistle of James, which he read, James 1:5. He'll probably read more of James as well, but that's the one he recorded that he wrote. And he reflected on it again and again. He did not, and he says, and this is down in 12, for how to act I did not know, and unless I could get more wisdom than I had then, I would never know. And then in the middle of 13, he says, I at length came to the determination to ask of God. So how much time went from deciding, reading that scripture and saying I can ask of God, to actually thinking I can ask of God? So what is it in here? And then he goes, retires to the woods, and he has his first vision. But what is it about his strengths do you see that brings his testimony, his divine calling? So I love the parts of his character. It's such Christ-like qualities. The ones where he observes things first before acting. The one where he prays about it, ponders on it, meditates on it. Very Christ-like attributes. You can see here a young boy start becoming the prophet of the restoration, and it's just such a beautiful thing to look for things and qualities of Joseph in here that would make him this prophet of the restoration. So have a look at that. But that's 1 through 26 in a synopsis. All right, hang around. We're going to look at verses 5 to 25 and how we can receive answers. I'll see you there.